Every driver out here long enough keeps a second map in his head, not the one on the Qualcomm, the one that tells you which fuel islands you roll past, even when the low fuel light is glowing and your eyes are burning, and there's a perfectly good sign promising showers and hot coffee a quarter-mile ahead. Nobody handed you that map. You built it one bad night at a time, or you inherited it off Channel 19 from a driver who learned it the hard way so you wouldn't have to. Tonight, we're putting 15 of those places in order, from bad to the single worst gas station in America to shut down at. And this isn't the lazy version where somebody reads you a list of scary-sounding cities. We went to the exact exits and the exact travel centers. Every stop on this list has hard numbers behind it, a documented incident, or a formal warning that a real company put out to its own drivers. And the one sitting at number 1? A national retail giant looked at a single Love's in a single city and decided that one gas station needed its own written company policy telling drivers to stay away. That warning is real, and we'll get to it. Let's roll. Number 15. The Greater Chicago Interstate 55 Auto Truck Plaza in Bolingbrook, Illinois, right off exit 267. On paper, it's a driver's friend, big lot, cheap parking, a deli that people actually rave about. The trouble starts when the sun goes down. Drivers who've stopped there leave the same warning over and over. The back lot is dark, there are no cameras watching it, and the cab thieves know it. Chicago is one of the biggest cargo theft hubs in the entire country, a place where thieves don't even need to touch your truck. Illinois troopers have documented rings working the freight corridors, and at rest areas just down Interstate 80, near Minooka, they warned drivers that thieves were opening cab doors while truckers slept and lifting wallets right off the dash. That's the Chicagoland flavor of the problem. It isn't always about your trailer. Sometimes it's about you asleep 20 inches away with the door you forgot to lock. The cost here is small and personal. A wallet, a laptop, a phone, but it's the kind of violation that follows you for a week. Park nose out under the brightest light you can find, lock every door, and don't treat a full lot as proof of safety. A full lot just means more targets. Number 14. Pilot Travel Center number 459 in Avondale, Arizona, off Interstate 10 at exit 133. And this one matters less for what happened at this exact building and more for the list it lives on. Back in 2020, a driver picked up a high-value load and got handed something extra by the shipper, a printed "Do Not Stop" list of 82 truck stops spread across 20 states that his company forbade him from parking at with that trailer. It went viral all over again a few years later, and asset protection people confirmed it's the real deal, the kind of list built from repeated reports of partial thefts and full-on hijacked loads. Pilot 459 in Avondale is one of 4 Arizona stops that made the cut. When a security department names a specific store number and a specific exit, that's not a rumor. That's a pattern somebody paid to track. If you're pulling anything worth stealing through Phoenix, this is one to fuel and flee. And keep that list in the back of your mind because 3 more names off it are coming up. Number 13. Petro San Antonio, number 6305, off Interstate 10 at exit 581 by Ackerman Road. Texas has more locations on that Do Not Stop list than any other state in the country, and San Antonio's Petro is one of the named ones. The mechanism in Texas is patience. Crews sit in the big lots the way fishermen sit at a stocked pond. They watch which trailers roll in off the local distribution centers. They clock which driver walks inside for a shower, and then they either hit that trailer where it sleeps, or they tail it up the interstate to somewhere quieter with fewer witnesses. The cost is a cut seal and empty floor space, discovered at 6 a.m. when you'd rather be rolling. If your load is hot, The standing industry rule is to put real miles down before your first stop. San Antonio's Petro is exactly the kind of convenient, comfortable stop where that rule quietly dies. Number 12. Flying J number 1057 on the Pasadena Freeway in Pasadena, Texas, right in the Houston sprawl. Another name straight off the list. Houston is one of the country's top cargo theft metros, and the freight lanes on the southeast side run through some genuinely rough ground. The Flying J itself lands on the Do Not Stop roster for the same reason as San Antonio: repeated hits on parked trailers. But Houston adds a second layer that has nothing to do with your cargo, and we'll come back to that later on this list because it's ugly enough to earn its own spot. For now, this is a stage and sleep trap. Dispatch tells you to get close to your Houston receiver. Close turns out to mean a Pasadena fuel island overnight, and your reefer sits there humming like a dinner bell. Get your fuel, then find a secured yard with a fence and working cameras, even if it costs you 30 minutes. Number 11. Love's number 927 off the Highway 12 loop at Grauweiler Road in Irving, Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth freight country, and the last of our Do Not Stop list names. The DFW corridor is one of the most active cargo theft zones in America, and the crews there are professionals. They know which buildings ship electronics, which ship liquor, which ship anything that liquidates fast in a metro this size with this many buyers. A loaded trailer sitting overnight at a known stop reads like a gift with a bow on it. Now, I want to be fair. Love's built its whole reputation on clean places, friendly faces, and most of their stores earn it. But a clean store in the wrong zip code is still the wrong zip code. If you're leaving a Dallas shipper heavy, blow past Irving on principle and shut down in a town the crews haven't memorized. Coffee is available everywhere in Texas. Your load is only available once. Quick pit stop before we get into the heavier stuff. If this list has already saved you one bad night, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It's free, and unlike a reefer alarm, it will never wake you up at 3 in the morning. Number 10. Gary, Indiana, and the truck stop strung along the Borman Expressway, where Interstate 80 and Interstate 94 run together across the top of the state. Gary has carried a radio reputation longer than most drivers have carried a CDL, and I want to be honest about that. The people who live there did not build this problem. The mills shrank, the money left, and the exits kept all the truck traffic with none of the shine. But the reputation is the point here, because reputation is what fills or empties a lot all by itself. Newer drivers read the old warnings and quietly route around the whole stretch. And Indiana added a modern wrinkle. This is one of the state's drivers trade the most predatory towing horror stories about. Something happens to your truck around Gary, a break-in, a breakdown, a fender bender, and the second act rolls up in the form of a tow operator with a blank invoice and your equipment on his hook. So the cost in Gary can hit you twice. First the incident, then the hook. If you need fuel on the Borman, fuel and roll. The exits get quieter and friendlier with every mile you put between yourself and that stretch. Number 9. The Pilot Flying J at exit 160 on Interstate 85 in Lavonia, Georgia. This one isn't about cargo at all. This is about the cash drawer and the counter. Around 3 in the morning, 2 armed robbers walked into that travel center, demanded money, and one of them shot a truck driver in the chest before they cleaned out the registers and ran. The driver survived. He was listed critical and later stabilized, but sit with that image for a second. A driver walked in for a coffee and a fuel receipt at the loneliest hour of the night and caught a bullet meant for a cash register. That's the risk that doesn't show up on any cargo heat map. The overnight fuel desk is its own kind of exposure, and a rural exit doesn't make it safe. Sometimes it makes it worse because there's nobody around to see. When you're going inside at 3 in the morning, read the room before you read the menu. Trust the hair on the back of your neck. It's kept more drivers alive than any dash cam. Number 8. Certain Houston fuel stops in the freight belt on the southeast side, and here's the layer I promised you back at the Pasadena Flying J. In Houston, the danger at some gas stations near the truck lanes has nothing to do with your trailer and everything to do with the neighborhood. At one station on the Gulf Freeway near Monroe, a clerk was shot and killed in an attempted robbery, the same store where a food truck owner had been shot and killed months earlier. In North Houston, a man tracked his own stolen truck by GPS to a gas station and ended up dead when the confrontation went wrong. These aren't cargo crews running a scheme. This is street violence, and a semi parked at the wrong pump at the wrong hour is just a big, obvious target with a tired driver inside. The cost here is the one you can't put a claim on. If you're fueling in Southeast Houston after dark, pay at the pump, keep your head up, and don't get out to stretch and wander. Get your fuel, get your receipt, get gone. Number 7. Love's number 461 in St. Louis at 6124 North Broadway off Interstate 70 at exit 246A. This one earns its spot by making 2 different lists. It was flagged years ago on that L Brands asset protection roster, and then it showed up again on a newer, independent list of stops with documented safety concerns. When the same address gets independently named twice, years apart, by people whose entire job is keeping drivers out of trouble, that's not bad luck. That's a pattern. Pull up the overhead map of that North Riverfront stretch, and you can see exactly why drivers are wary. St. Louis has spent years near the top of America's violent crime rankings, and this Love's sits in the thick of it. The store itself may be perfectly clean. The trouble is the ground it's standing on. If your route puts you near St. Louis overnight, plan to shut down well north or well west of the city and leave yourself a short morning drive into it instead of a long night parked in it. Number 6. The truck stops around Bakersfield, California, where Highway 99 meets Highway 58, with Interstate 5 running the west side of the valley. This is where the numbers get genuinely alarming. When cargo theft crews started getting too much heat in Los Angeles County, they didn't retire, they commuted. Kern County cargo theft climbed 82% in 2025. The fastest jump of any hotspot in the country. And it happened in the very same year Los Angeles County actually dropped about 11%. The crews relocated, and what they're hitting tells you exactly why the valley works for them. Tree nuts were among the most targeted commodities on the entire West Coast, and Kern is pistachio and almond country. A trailer of almonds has no serial numbers, no tracking chips, and usually a buyer lined up before the load even leaves the orchard. For a driver, the danger window is the overnight at the Highway 99 and Highway 58 stops, with anything high value staged before the climb over the Grapevine. The cost is an empty trailer after a dead quiet night and roughly 0 chance of ever seeing that load again. Fuel there if you have to. If you're loaded with something the valley wants, sleep somewhere the cameras actually work. Let me grab one more quick stop. If any of these have made you nod, tap that like button. The algorithm treats like the way a shipper treats detention pay. It pretends not to notice, but eventually it pays out. The heavy hitters are next. Number 5. The Petro and TA truck stops in Atlanta off I-285 at exit 12 on Donald Lee Hollowell Highway, the edge of the Fulton Industrial District. Southeast drivers wince before I even finish the sentence. Drivers describe this cluster the same way every time. Lots of dark corners, secluded trucks, and a whole lot of people wandering the lot who don't belong to any of the rigs parked there. And this area doesn't just have a reputation, it has a rap sheet. On that very same road, a UPS driver was carjacked at a traffic light around 3:30 in the morning, forced to drive to a secluded spot, tied up, and left inside his own trailer while the crew unloaded his cargo. The company only realized something was wrong when the truck went overdue and they tracked it by GPS. That's the neighborhood this Petro sits in. Atlanta is one of the nation's biggest cargo theft metros, and Fulton Industrial is the beating heart of it. If you're delivering in West Atlanta, do not stage on that strip overnight. Burn the extra miles to a secured lot or ask your receiver straight out about parking inside their gate. Everybody in Atlanta freight already knows this. Now you do too. Number 4, the truck stop cluster in West Memphis, Arkansas, where Interstate 40 and Interstate 55 come together right across the river from Memphis. On paper, it's a wall of fuel islands and parking that should be a driver's best friend. It's been the opposite for half a century. This one runs almost entirely on reputation. So let me be straight with you, there is no tidy statistic to hang on it. What there is 50 years of drivers telling each other the exact same thing. Go on the trucking forums, and you'll find veterans saying those exits went onto their personal avoid list back in 1976 and never came off. Others describe knocks on the door all night long and people working the lots after dark. Newer drivers rad those threads and quietly route around the entire cluster, and that's how a reputation this old actually operates. It empties a lot all by itself. Some drivers will tell you it's calmer now than it used to be, and they might be right. Doesn't matter as much as you'd think, because the real cost in West Memphis was never mainly the equipment. It's the sleep. You do not rest in a lot where part of your brain stays up listening for footsteps, and a driver who didn't sleep is a bigger danger to himself at 70 miles an hour than any parking lot ever was. And hold on to this one, because for 50 years, drivers crossed that bridge believing the far side was the safe side. Remember that when we get to number 1. Number 3. The Inland Empire truck stops around Ontario and Fontana, California, where I-10 and I-15 cross in the middle of an ocean of distribution centers feeding the ports. This is the capital. California was the most hit state in the country in 2025 with 1,218 cargo theft incidents, more than any other state by a wide margin, and the Inland Empire is wall-to-wall with the 2 locations thieves love most: distribution centers and the truck stops that serve them. The money out here went vertical too. The average stolen load in 2025 hit nearly $274,000, up 36% in a single year, as crews got selective and started cherry-picking high-value electronics and enterprise hardware moving as plain dry freight. This is active hunting ground. Police have caught crews mid-theft near the Fontana rail yards and run pursuits that ended in wreckage. For a driver, that means you assume any high-value load out of the I-10 and I-15 corridor is being evaluated from the moment you clear the shipper's gate. The cost out here is a career-sized claim riding behind your cab. Guard it like it's yours, because for one night it is. Keep it moving and put real miles down before you even think about that first stop. Number 2. And we're back to that bridge. The truck stops on Lamar and the surrounding Memphis freight corridor, but specifically the ones you were told were the safe alternative. Remember West Memphis at number 4 and the 50-year belief that the far bank of the river was the good side? Here's the truth that should have stopped that rumor decades ago. Both banks made this list because the river was never the fence. The Memphis side carries even more freight, even more distribution parks, and even more crews who know exactly which buildings ship what. Drivers have told Trucking Press that some carriers now unload in Memphis and then drive 30 minutes out of town, before they'll even take a motel room. Think about that. Professionals who won't sleep in the city they just delivered to. The mechanism is the same one you've heard all list long, only heavier and more organized. Staged trailers, cut seals, and crews patient enough to wait you out. Which brings us to the single worst one of all. Number 1. The Love's Travel Stop on Lamar Avenue in Memphis, Tennessee, at 3371 Lamar, off Interstate 240 at exit 21. Nothing else in America has a rap sheet quite like this one gas station. Over a single 12-month stretch, Memphis police logged 137 police reports tied to that one address, dozens of them semi-trailer break-ins. One address. Do the arithmetic, and that's a police report every 2 or 3 days, all year long, at a store whose own slogan is "Clean places, friendly faces." Drivers have walked out at dawn to find not just their trailer open, but 10 rigs in a row down the aisle with their doors standing open, hit in broad daylight while everybody slept. And in 2025, the violence went past cargo. A man was shot in the leg in the parking lot in an argument over money, the kind of thing that turns a fuel stop into a crime scene in about 4 seconds. But here's the detail that puts it at number 1, the warning I promised you at the very top. L Brands, the parent company of Bath & Body Works, a national retail giant, looked at that specific Love's and put out a formal notice telling its own drivers to avoid it when passing through Memphis. A corporation studied one gas station in one city and decided it needed a written company policy. That's not a forum rumor or a viral list. That's a boardroom deciding a single fuel island was too dangerous for its people. When a company that ships millions of dollars of freight names your favorite coffee stop by address and says do not go there, the argument is over. So what does Lamar actually cost a driver? Everything this whole list has covered, stacked onto one street. The cab break-ins from Chicago, the staging traps from Atlanta, the daylight cruise, the reputation of West Memphis, and the plain street violence of a rough Houston pump, all of it waiting on the same few miles with your name on the incident report. If your route says Lamar, deliver, then put miles behind you before you shut down, because there are good, safe stops within an hour in every direction. Every list has a worst. This one earned it fair and square. So that's the map from a dark backlot in Bolingbrook all the way down to one Love's in Memphis with a Fortune 500 warning attached to it. And notice the pattern the whole list kept whispering. It's almost never one thing. It's the convenient stop plus the tired driver, the comfortable lot plus the load worth stealing, the reputation plus the one night you decided to risk it anyway. The drivers who get burned are usually missing preparation, not luck. Now it's your turn. Drop your own do not stop fuel island in the comments, the one you would warn a rookie about, the exit you route around on principle, because somebody running behind you tonight hasn't learned it yet, and this is how the map gets passed down. And if this earned a spot in that map you carry in your head, subscribe. It's just about the only thing left in trucking that's still free. Until next time, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up, and lock your doors before you close your eyes.